And what I would like to remind you all today is we have some news. We are planning some novelties for next year, and hopefully everything that we are planning is going to work out very well. If it does, it's going to be very good for the whole team, for the whole group studying here with us. And I'd like you to put in a chat your email so we can contact with you later on as far as the schedule and what is coming next, whether you're not interested or if you are interested in other stuff that we are planning on doing. But anyway, just put some of you, I do have your email, but not everybody. And just let me know your information so we can keep you in the distribution list for, I know you like some of the projects that we are putting together for next year. And yeah, I just want you all to be aware of it, and let us know if you will be interested on receiving some of the stuff that we will prepare for next year. And reminder, this is our agenda. So next Saturday, it's going to be the 11th. We still have one more book study, and then there will be on the 18th, the last meeting for this year with the lecture. Vanessa and Saloni will be with us, talking to us, and then there will be a break. I have not decided yet which Saturday we'll be back. I need to check on my schedule, but I will send you a letter whenever I decide which one is going to be in January. We'll be back, but that will be a break for the holidays. And come on, computer, moving on. Okay, so okay, no, wait, too much. Yeah, so last time we stopped at the 639 question 639 from the Spirit's book. The wrong we do is often the result of our position that has been determined by others. In such a case, who should be held mostly accountable? And the answer is those who are the cause of the wrongdoing.
Recording in progress.
Okay, does anyone want to say anything? Okay. Therefore, persons who are led to commit wicked acts due to being in a position that others have made for them are less guilty than those who have actually caused them to go astray. All individuals have to suffer the consequences for both the wrongs they have done and that which they have caused others to do. So, and if we continue, where is my, okay, there you go. I'm sharing over here. If we continue with the number 640, the question is, if we profit by another person's wrongdoing, even though we took no direct role in it, are we guilty as if we had participated? What is the comment without reading the question, the answer? Any comment on that?
Yes, easily. This would all depend on the circumstances. The circumstances when, how do you know that another person did wrong when you profit by it? You might suspect it, and then you might, then there's you know they did, you didn't know, and there's maybe. So it would be unfair of karmic law to chastise you if you didn't know the other person did wrongdoing and you profited from it. Wall Street's a good example of that. And I think Hyacinth will probably have something more realistic to say.
Go ahead, Hyacinth.
Well,
I think I know what she's about to say.
what do you think, Allan? Let's hear it.
I would say it depends whether or not, I mean, to me, I think it depends whether or not you are conscious about it, and depending on what you know about it. Like, what if I'm profiting from somebody else's wrongdoing, not knowing exactly that is wrong?
Right. Well, for Giles, especially for Giles, because I was going to do a quote from Jesus when they asked him if he had done something, and he said, "You would have no power over me if it were not given to you from above. Therefore, the one who handed me over to you is guilty of a greater sin." So there you have it. You're mute,
No problem with,
Giles.
I have no problem with that statement, because the one who handed Jesus over for stoning and burning and so on was a fundamentalist religious person, most likely Jewish. And that's no reflection on the Jewish religion, but the reflection on the person who handed him over, who knew perfectly well that he was doing something wrong. But what I said was, there are three stages or possibilities here. One is, I don't know this person did wrong, so if I profit by it, where's my crime? If I think maybe they did something wrong, and then, okay, then maybe I'm being not so good as I should be. And if I know they did wrong, then I should not profit from it. And if I do, then I'm being bad too. And that's the answer, which I've got on another page here, which says, if you take advantage of it when the deed being done, it proves he could have done it himself. Well, no, I mean, that I disagree. I mean, there are three, look, things are not absolute in this kind of story. This is a tricky one.
No,
All right, come on, Luis, it's over to you.
no, but I think so. I can ask it. But if you profit from a bad thing, it cannot be good.
Correct, but how do you know it's a bad thing?
Well, you may not know, but the fact is it is bad, and therefore you will not profit in the end.
Okay, but this is like running over somebody in traffic. When you kill somebody in your car, you didn't mean to. You've done a bad thing. Now, what happens
But
then?
I have still killed someone. It was an accident. I had meant to, but this is it. I made somebody lose their life.
So a certain amount of karma will attach to you, but not as a premeditated murder. I mean, come on, human justice has got all kinds of gradations of murder. Anyway, Luis, come on, you've turned your sound off.
But before Luis goes, I think Josie also raised her hand. Josie?
Luis, go ahead first.
I think it all comes down to the degree of consciousness, right?
Yes,
Of
level of
course,
consciousness. Yeah.
Yes. If you're conscious about, very conscious about the wrongdoing and its consequences, of course, you will be whipped more times, as Jesus Christ used to say, than the one who had no conscience, but the wrongdoing will come with a bad consequence anyway to you, right? Of course, smaller consequences than to those who had who were very aware of the situation. So I think that's it, right? Consciousness.
Josie?
Your sound is very low. So when we turn up
Yeah,
our
Luis,
sound to
your
hear
sound
you,
slow.
then somebody else speaks, then they're yelling at us.
Yeah. I when we read this message, came in my mind something that's not exactly that, but I remember about Paul, right? Paul, the
Apostle.
Yeah. And when he was Saul and he really hates Jesus Christ and he chased all of them and even he killed Stephen. I don't know the name in English, please correct me or
I think it was Stephen.
Stephen. And after he sees Jesus Christ on the way in Damascus, he changed it. I feel like, yes, somehow he needs to readjust what he did before, but how the conscience is important. So it was Giles is saying, I think you need to have conscience of what is wrong. So in his mind, when he was Saul chasing the Christians, he thought in deep his heart was right.
Mm-hmm.
And he realized it's not. Just came that in my mind. I know that here it's you do something else with somebody else, but
you brought up a good you brought up a good example because at the beginning he thought he was doing the right thing. As a matter of fact, he didn't think he was doing the wrong thing. He was really fighting for something that he thought it was the right thing to do. So once he realized evidently he was wrong, then instead of just punishing himself or blaming himself, evidently he knew he was doing wrong, but the way that he found to work this out was to do the opposite, to work for the people from Jesus, right? To work on the Jesus.
And he sacrificed his whole life,
exactly
the rest of his life to this doctrine, and that's the way to readjust, I think. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's what I was going to say, that he spent the rest of his life making amends.
Yes, amends, exactly. Yeah, that's the word that I was trying to find. Yeah, making amends. And I agree with Luis said, is the level of consciousness, degree of consciousness. And the other thing that I would add to your comment, Luis, is I do not know which question that is in the book, but it is something about saying that we bring all these laws. We do not know them all by heart, but we bring all of those in our spirit. So even though sometimes we are not educated enough, but somehow we become aware of something that we are doing is not quite right. So it's like all these laws, we bring them in our heart somewhere, and we just don't exercise them, or we become more and more aware of those, and we practice those as we evolve, I guess.
Yes, one of the uses of the karmic law, the law cause and effect, is to show you that you had made a mistake, even when you were unconscious of that, because when the bad consequences come, it's why is this happening to me? And then you, in retrospect, come to the conclusion, oh, maybe I did that was not so good. Now I know by the consequences that I'm suffering that I shouldn't do that. So, but this is one of the uses of the law too.
Yeah.
I think Steve wants to speak something about a piece of news that he wanted to share. Do you, Steve?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, it occurred to me, some of you don't live in the United States, but maybe you heard about the recent school shooting in Michigan, which is near Detroit. And as the facts come out, this young man was kind of suspected of harboring ill feelings toward his fellow classmates through certain activities he was caught doing. And about the same time, his parents bought him a handgun. And so the authorities at the school called the parents and said, we think there's something wrong going on here. He had made a drawing that was very vicious and violent, and they saw this drawing on his desk or something, and so they called in the parents and said, you must take him out of school, take him home right now. And they refused to do it. And they went home, and then a few hours later, he shot up the school. So, so the question is, I mean, they didn't do the shooting, but they bought the gun, and they supported him in his, his insanity. Let's put it that way. We don't know that much about it, but it's going to be a good case to watch along these lines as it unfolds in court, because as Giles said, there's a certain amount of, there's gray areas in our law, and we'll find out if they're fully guilty or just partly guilty. The parents I'm talking about.
Very good example. Okay.
Hold it. Hey, I was next. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I didn't put up my speaking hand. This reminds me of the past life review, because when you apparently, what do I know? But the automatic writers say that everybody gets a past life review when they go into the afterlife. And it happens fairly soon after you transition.
Mm-hmm.
And in it, you see the damage you have caused to people through their own feelings and eyes. But you also see the good you have caused. So that that's what I'm remarking on now, because if you smile at somebody from your car who's waiting in a bus stop in the rain and make a laughing gesture, and that maybe makes their day, might make their week, you never know. And in the past life review, you find out what happened with all those things. So this is very much in the on the subject matter. Then, of course, there's the negative things as well. But since the positive and negative, then you decide whether you've been a good person in your life or not, whether the bad outweighs the good. I mean, sorry, the good outweighs the bad. Okay, that was it.
Anna, can I add something?
Yes, Leda.
I was wondering if our example is a great influence to people. Sometimes we don't realize, but what we do influences a lot in other people. So that can be bad as well. Sometimes if you do bad things and you tell yourself, no, this is just me and myself and my life, like when you commit suicide, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it is a bad influence on people around, and you didn't mean to do it, but it falls on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we are all connected to each other in this sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, very nice comment. Yeah, sometimes you never know if you are leading by example, and most of the time you never know who is watching you, right? Who is taking you as a lead, as an example. So yeah, Josie. Thank you, Leda. Thank you, Giles.
No, I just want to make a comment, Steve, and maybe it's not too much spiritual. It's more, I used to be a lawyer in Brazil before I moved to the United States. And I think in this case, to me, it's clear a negligence thing. If this parent gave the gun, of course, they didn't want the kid to do that, but they took the risk basically consciously. And in my point of view, they would be guilt. I believe spiritually, you can we talk about negligence, Luis and Anna Maria, about when you talk spiritually, but it's the same. I can drink 2 beers and drive my car and think, oh, no, it's fine, nothing's going to happen. And I can cause an accident. Maybe I'm not super drunk, but I took the risk too, right? Mm-hmm. So I think in this case, look like very clear that they should go and pick him up or never give the gun. It just came in my mind. It's just was.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would not have a gun in my house just because it's not safe. I mean, you never know who can come over here, find that gun and use it against you, or even by an accident. Yeah. Hi, Cynthia.
Yes, I was listening to that case, and it was very interesting because the father bought the boy the gun on Black Friday gift. Now, The teachers had told the parents, so you must get this child to a psychiatrist because he is looking for ammunition on the internet. The mother texts the boy, I am not blaming you. What I'm saying is you must not get caught. So clearly they couldn't see that they didn't see what or refused to see what was happening. Because if my child is looking for ammunition on the internet and they see where he is drawing photographs about killing his people, then the boy was obviously disturbed. So they are quite right to hold the parents responsible.
Mhm.
And to Giles, what I understand is that when you do crossover, you see everything in the minutest detail, good or bad, what you did, what you thought, how it affected somebody, and you see the consequences. And that for me is going to be hell. When I see what I actually did, whether it's
No,
innocent or not.
Hyacinth, sweetheart, there is not a chance that the balance would be bad. You're such a nice person, and then there's the good things you've done, and you don't even know you've done them, and you'll find out later. Okay.
But that's right. You don't. You see what it is, and then you weigh it in the balance. And you weigh yourself, as I'm understanding. You weigh yourself because you see it. Anyway, that's enough of me.
Now, that's right. I mean, the most evolved you are, more you see more things that you wish to have made right. So you'll feel more responsible. If you're less evolved, if you're more ignorant, then it will be okay for you, for your conscience, for your consciousness, right? So if you are a person that cares more about the other people, then you feel more responsible in your consciousness.
Leader, it's Steve's turn.
I wanted to add in this case of the Michigan school shooting, according to your question, number 640, how would the parents be profiting? The only way I can think of this is that they must have had a very negative atmosphere in the home for their son to be mentally ill. It kind of implies that they're mentally ill, and they have some level of anger, which would be their form of profit in a sense. That's the only way I can see this case is a total negative. Because I look at all these gun owners. I live in the United States, and there's so many gun owners, and some good friends of mine have a whole room full of guns, and I don't understand it, except it's coming from fear, because what are they protecting? It's like, yeah, you could have the gun for protection, but then maybe your baby would find it and pull the trigger and, kill another baby, or you know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy where we've gone in the United States with this whole fearful gun ownership thing. And the whole thing started with the Second Amendment going way back to the beginning when we were supposed to have an army based in the home. Well, we don't have a need for an army based in the home anymore, but all these people have these AR-15s and these automatic weapons for what? It's all based on stupid, fearful thoughts, which is imaginary in my humble opinion. So that's what I had to say.
Thank you, Steve. Una?
Thanks, Anna. So my question isn't so much about the profiting from the wrongdoing, but that situation with the parents and the boy. So my question is around pre-birth planning. How do we think pre-birth planning fits into that scenario? Because as far as I know, or from what I understand, you do plan things and before you come into an incarnation, and you set up certain things to happen in that incarnation. And I'm genuinely just wondering what people think about pre-birth planning in relation to this particular situation.
And let me add you a little more about when you add free will to that scenario. even if you have a plan to do something, you always have the free will to make it different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Susie?
Yeah, I got a couple of different angles on this. One partially because, yeah, I am a gun owner. I'm on a farm. I have reasons to have some sort of a firearm. And I've had a lot of friends that are in shooting clubs and things too. But what I was more inclined to think about was this whole thing, like the first sentence is, if we profit from another's wrongdoing, even though we took no dire in it, we are as guilty as if we had participated. This to me also is when we turn that blind eye to what's going on and don't take a stand for change. And which takes me to like the comment that Annie's made about the school authorities. Yeah, maybe the school authorities should have taken a stronger stand, but obviously, and I'm coming from a mental health background here, the whole family is either into some sort of a conspiracy thing where they, sort of feel that they have this right, as you've discussed before, or, they're just in so total denial of their son that they can't see at all what's going on.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
It's I agree. I would not know what to say as well. I mean, it's
Josephine, what's your story?
I want to make a comment in Una question. So I think, and as Jesus Christ said, if the scandal need to come, the scandal need to happen, but through who is gonna commit this scandal? And Una, your question make me think like, I'm not sure if you would make like in the spiritual world, like, oh, I'm gonna go to the world, I'm gonna have how many years old and I'm gonna shoot my school. But as Anna said, you have your free will. And if you use, so I think the universe use you in this case to make some readjust. I know it's really hard to think about, but I really believe nothing happened that's not supposed to happen. Even when kids are that killed, it's horrible, but I think everything's in the right place, in the way it should be. Like Jesus Christ said, there is no one leaf that leave the tree without God, right? Without the universe, let that happen. So when I see those situations, I think, yeah, I don't think nobody asked him to do it, but once he was going to do it, the universe used this person to do the readjust. Makes sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, and let me,
Yeah.
I thought about exactly the same, sorry, Louise, just adding one comment. I thought about exactly the same thing that you mentioned, Josie, about the scandal, but that reminded me about Judas. I did not know, Hyacinth or Louise, Judas in English, the apostle, it's Jude, right? So
Judas, yeah.
he was not by coincidence, I guess, but Judas, he was the one taking care of the money of the group. What a coincidence. Can one think that Jesus didn't know exactly what was supposed to be happening later on? But yet Judas was the responsible one for the little money they had. Anyway, just go ahead, Louis. Oh, sorry.
No, Louis, you go first. No, okay, with Judas, there's lots of different thoughts about Judas. There's some people who think that this had to be done, and Judas said, I'll go, I'll do it. Now, okay. But if you remember that at that supper, when they're talking about this is happening, Judas got up and Jesus said to him, what you have to do, go and do quickly.
Yes.
So clearly,
You.
this was it.
Mhm.
So
It was the plan.
And Hyacinth, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Jesus Christ, go, my friend, and do what needs to be done, something like that.
he said, what you have to do, go and do it quickly.
Good, do it quickly.
Go get
Yeah.
it done. Yeah.
But not with hate or anything.
No, it was just, this is happening, because he told them this was going to happen.
Mhm. Luis.
But also this, you make a pact, as I gather, before you come, but you don't remember when you come.
Mhm.
And so there are some people who clearly remember, and they keep to the faith, they keep their plan, but not everybody.
Mhm. Yeah. And I guess this is one of the reasons why we regret once we go back. Like we have a plan, and then we had some commitments, and then once we are back to the spiritual realm, then we realize, okay, so let's see, you know, the things that I've done and the things that I should be doing and I didn't. So I guess this is I mean, I'm pretty sure I'll be devastated about the work that I should be, you know, I should have done, and I didn't because I was lazy or something like this. I mean, it's not a pleasant feeling anyway. Luis.
Yes, Una's story question remind me of a story from a spiritist book by Chico Xavier called The Missionaries of Light. In that situation, they were in the spiritual realms, and with a mother that was willing to reincarnate and to bring into life her son from the previous reincarnation. This because in the previous reincarnation there was a plan that he would be a kind of a spiritualist leader, but she very influenced by the social craze at that moment, she decided to make him a Catholic priest. She wanted badly that he became a Catholic priest in the previous reincarnation. And when she did that, the guy had no preparation to be the shepherd of souls. He didn't have the moral level for that, and he really got into lots of trouble by being a Catholic priest. And he was in the lower realms, surrounded by 3 other very difficult guys, closer friends to him and to his wrongdoings as a Catholic priest. And she would receive as children all those guys with very serious problems, sometimes very serious physical problems too, and mental problems. And she felt guilty. She felt responsible because she wanted her son to be a priest, in any way. So she didn't hold back her intentions, of course. So you need to be very careful about children. What you want your children to do. If you are influencing them very much on this, and they don't have the profile for that, it's something that this book, Spirit's book, also talks about, this vocation. We need to try and respect very much our children's vocation, what they want to do, because of this, because you can be held accountable for these future wrongdoings too.
Mhm. Yeah, very nice. So since you were there, Luis, would you please read the answer?
Yes, despite not participating in it, it's equivalent to committing the act. Perhaps they would have retreated before the action itself, but once it was done and they then took advantage of it, it proves that they would have done it themselves if they could or if they dared.
So to me, it's clear the degree of consciousness.
Yeah.
right? All right, so moving on, the 641. Let me see. Leda, would you please read the question?
Yes. Is it reprehensible to want to do an evil deed as it would be to actually commit it?
What do we think?
I think Jesus said when you want to commit adultery, for instance, it's the same thing or almost the same thing as you did it. Of course, I think we commented it in last meeting, right? When you actually do something, you have to face the consequences. And when you are just thinking about it, you still can make a choice of not practicing it. So it's not exactly the same thing, but you should be very careful about what you think, right? What are your intentions?
Yeah, it's like, so today we think so bad, you know, it's not a good thing to kill someone, for example, and none of us, I guess all of us, will be devastated about doing this. However, it's not just about practicing or acting. Now that we have a better consciousness about what we should do, what we should not be doing, now is the time to go deeper. And because at the end of the day, what we are trying to avoid is really the inner thought, the very beginning of that thought in our mind, back in our mind, you know, is not even thinking about killing someone, but even the idea of rejection of somebody. At the end of the day, is acceptance, loving, etc., right? So it's rather the opposite, I guess. Maria.
There's something very clear. Sorry, Maria, to interrupt, but there's something very clear about this. The thought is one thing, the word is another thing and much more powerful. And then, of course, the deed is more powerful still. So you think about you wish that a grand piano would drop on your enemy as they walk down the street in New York. Well, that's very different than pushing the grand piano out and or telling somebody else to push the grand piano out. So thought, word, and deed, they are progressively more powerful and binding.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. Maria.
I'm thinking what Leda says, and I think that our feelings determine our intentions. Jesus said in Matthew 5:12-8. But I say to you, whoever looks at a woman to lust after her, has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Here, it is clear that what determines an action as a good or bad about your intention. We need to pay more attention to our feelings. They are the triggers for our actions. What we want so intensely shows our character. Those who are not in real contact with their feelings cannot go deeper into self-knowledge. The first step towards inner change. Thinking you know is different from living and managing what you feel.
Yeah. I thought that, yeah, that's very good. Nothing else to add. Is spot on. Any other comment?
I
In
want
the
to express my
oh,
pronunciation is not very good, but I think that
No, it did very
our
well.
friends
Yeah.
understand me, all right?
Maria, you said perfectly. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Spot on. Una.
There is a thing, a belief that thoughts are powerful, that they have an energetic quality.
Mhm.
That what you think about is what you draw into your world. So if you want to do something reprehensible and you're thinking about it, there is an energy to that. You may not materialize it in your life, or it may not happen, but you're still given energy to it. So presumably on an energetic level, there's something to answer for, if it's, you know, particularly reprehensible.
That's a very good comment, Una, because that's exactly in one of those questions and answers, they say that everything that we think, our thoughts will create reality. So as we think, then we are creating, you know, energetically, you are creating that reality around you. So it's not a good thing. Anyway, so hi, Seth.
no, it was something with Giles again, because from Testimony of Light, from Francis, what she said is she has to learn, she's in the afterlife, and she has to learn to control her thoughts, because as she thought it, it happened. So she found she was where she didn't really want to go. She had simply had a wish. And so this is it. So I think that thoughts are very, very powerful. And you need really to watch your thoughts.
Yeah, the spirits, they say that all the thoughts we have, you know, as we think, then those thoughts, there will be like a picture in our perispirit. So that's how the spirits, they know our intentions, because it is like printed in our perispirit. So yeah, Luis.
As Maria said, that's why we need to deal with our feelings, not deny them, not say, no, that's wrong, I'm not feeling, no, that's wrong, I'm not thinking. It's not like that. We have to deal with it, we have to treat it, we have to heal our feelings, we have to heal our thoughts, not just say, no, I'm not feeling, that's wrong, because it's not real. It will come, it will make something with us, and you have consequences either or not. So as a religious people do, they just say, that's wrong, I don't do, that's wrong, I don't think, that's wrong, I don't feel, but it's not real. They are not healing themselves, and it's not the purpose of this group, to make us religious people doing wrong or bad things, like religious people. Not like that. It's just to heal ourselves, try to be better persons, be honest, and deal with our feelings and our deep thoughts and inside ourselves, not just denial or do, as I say, externally engagements or another things, right?
Yeah, there is a question in the Book of Spirits that Kardec asked, how to fight the evil in us, and the Spirit says, it says something about know yourself, right? Learn about yourself, know yourself. As a matter of fact, that reminded me of somebody when I first started working here in US, and I was part of a project team. I was one of the project team members, and I remember I had a terrible time trying to adjust to that project team because of one person, and at some point I made my homework and I said, okay, so why is about that person that is causing me, repulse. And I really didn't want to deal with that person for too long. When I realized that actually we are very similar, we were very controlling. I am very jealous about my, when I'm doing my work and the things that I'm doing, I'm very jealous and controlling. And I realized, oh, yeah, he's exact mirror image of me. so that made me think about, okay, so, and I started to become more tolerant. Today, we are very good friends. We trust a lot in each other, but I had to do my homework at the beginning, yeah.
Maria, maybe
that-
lower your hand, Maria.
Debbie?
Lower your hand.
I'll talk. I liked what you said about that. I've noticed that so many times when people don't get along. It can be me not getting along with someone or somebody I see, and it's just like they're the same. I mean, it's just so often. But one thing I just want to say, I was glad this question was on here. It's when I was young and I was, I'd go to church and Bible school and all this stuff, and that's one of the things that made me think this is impossible to be a good Christian, was that thing that Jesus said. It sounded like, it's as bad to think about doing something as to do it. And that was like, I might as well give up. I just wanted to mention that.
Sometimes it feels something like we cannot endure. It's such a long journey, right? But the good news is you don't have to learn all at once. It's okay to learn little by little, right?
Yeah.
As long as you are willing to, as long as, when I look in the mirror, I see a work in progress. And I'm good with it. I don't have to be perfect now.
Mhm.
Giles.
Right, it's my turn. Okay. Reactions. Let me get the hand down. This is worth saying because it's not written by a fat white racist. An old Cherokee told his grandson, "My son, there is a battle between two wolves inside us all. One is evil. It's anger, jealousy, greed, resentment, inferiority, lies, and ego. The other is good. It's joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, empathy, and truth." The boy thought about it and said, "Grandfather, which wolf wins?" A lot of W's there. And the old man replied, "The one you feed."
That's right.
So that's a lovely saying, and a very true thing, because we have thought, word, and deed, and each is progressively nastier or better than the other. You have good thoughts, and so they have their effect, and they spread out, and there are good thoughts. And then you have good words, and these are much louder than your thoughts. And they spread out, and they have their good effects. And then there are deeds, and you do nice things and help people. And this is the real McCoy. Okay, that was it.
Okay, thank you, Giles.
Yes.
Luis.
Which wolf do you feed?
Yeah, thank you.
This stories really made me recollect, and some of the experiences I've had with monitoring decades of mediumistic circles, spirit realism sessions, is that spirits go on very slowly, very carefully, showing you how deep the situation of getting to know yourself is, because we are very old. And first step is to get to know your personality. But the second difficult and very important step is to get to know your individuality, which sometimes brings a very dark past from long ago, right? And the very dark past can come up at any time if you're not careful, if you don't watch, right? If you don't pray. And that's why life here is not that easy, right? Because and that's why
Discipline.
many people who are religious, very religious, they usually get into very bad situation because when they assume they are superior relating to others, life will bring them situations that they will show them, right? If they have the merit for that, life will bring them situations that will show them that things are not that easy, right? That's why the Apostle Paul used to say that the deeds of law are not exactly what we need to look for. Okay, we need to do good. We need to do good things, but to know ourselves is so important for us to conquer humility, right? And reincarnation is a very good example because you can be born at any moment in any kind of different circumstances that maybe not be so easy for you to show your virtues, you know? So this was very important. This is such an important thing for us to learn. I think it's my a piece of advice in terms of this knowledge with the spirits. I said, look, 1,000 years ago, Luis, look at that. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Luis. Since you were there, so would you please read the answer?
Okay. This depends on the case. Voluntarily resisting engaging in the wrong that we want to do is a sign of virtue, especially when the possibility of fulfilling that desire exists. However, if individuals who have not committed the wrong action simply because the opportunity did not arise are as guilty as they had actually done it.
It's always just the intention, talking about intentions, whether or not you're willing or still.
No, I disagree with that because that is unfair and incorrect. You think about doing something wrong, and that's one thing. And if you do it, whoa, watch out. Thinking, yeah, it'll have its effect on you, which won't be a good one. But doing it, oh boy, look out.
So let me give you an example. So let's say I'm willing to steal, to get into somebody else's property and steal it from the house. And but it happens that all the houses, they are, the door is locked. What if I'm walking down the street and I see one house that is, the door is wide open? Then if I resist to get in is one thing. Yes, there is a sign of virtue. But what if I don't do it just because the door is always locked? Well, don't you think there is something wrong with that, attitude, with that behavior?
Yeah, I think the one question is that he's not making any effort to not do that. That's a lack of opportunity, or
Exactly.
he's doing effort. Sometimes he can't do that, resist that, but he's really doing effort. But if he feeds that feeling, as Giles said, he's feeding. If he think it's right, if he have this opportunity, he will do. It's almost the same as doing. But if you are trying not to do, you are making efforts, you are trying to gain virtues. But if you're not trying, even trying, or think that's right, or you can do that, whatever happens, maybe it's almost the same as doing that.
Yes, and once I think it was like this, trying to remember, but it's talking to a spirit about this question or something like this. The spirit said, Luis Sergio, the spirit realms that are very high, they see things in a very different way. So what matters for the good spirits, higher ones, or spiritual families that are in the realms, is that we get there. And to get there, you cannot have bad intentions. So you are as guilty as others right? Things, of course, the only difference will be that if you do something, as Giles says, you take longer to, to burn that debt, right? But if you still have the intention, you're still guilty for us here, for people who are higher there, because you won't be able to get to the higher realms, well, with that kind of behavior, guilty behavior in your mind, in your intention, your feelings, right?
And Luis, I guess there is another thought here. It's not a judgment per se about the person that is not doing the wrongdoing, but it still keeps that kind of lack of virtue. But I think is a matter of recognition for those who are fighting against to that behavior. You see what I'm saying? Or recognition for those who are working on it, who is really trying hard to learn the lesson, I guess.
Yes, and remember that because many people get worried. They say, Luis Sergio, sometimes very horrible thoughts come through my mind. Yes, but the point is, don't feed them, right? Because there's terrible feelings in this planet. Even if you are an empath or a medium, you will feel bad, very bad things sometimes. And you feel, oh my goodness, I have very bad intentions. But if you nourish them, it's the problem. It's the feed, just like Giles said about the wolf there in the Cherokee. If you feed them, it's a big problem, right? You just harboring bad thoughts and bad feelings. It's gonna have consequences on you.
Exactly.
Think in terms of wanting a grand piano to fall out of a 10th floor building onto your enemy. And
look, this one, I'm trying to get this image out of my mind, Giles, right? I think I am nourishing very much this thought. I'm trying to wipe it out of my mind, right?
Don't fear not, because the chances of that happening are vanishingly remote, as my astronomy brother used to say.
Hyacinth.
It's just,
come on, Hyacinth, let's have it.
Wise words from my mother when I was growing up. Never wish bad things for other people. If you want to dig a hole for your enemy, dig 2 holes, because you are going to drop in that hole before your enemy.
That's exactly right.
Hyacinth, this is this famous saying, woe to he who is the instrument of karma. That's an ancient Indian saying, wise man saying. And, and then the other one says, if you seek revenge, dig 2 graves.
Yeah.
Right? One for you and one for the other person. Okay, I accept.
There is something called the sin of satisfied revenge.
Yeah.
It only works here. In the next world, it doesn't work.
Speaking of this, people, just a minute. Does anyone here knows a person called Jo Berry? She's an English woman whose father was killed by a guy called Pat McGee. He was an IRA member, and on the day her father was killed in a bombing by the IRA, she promised herself she would do a good thing out of that. And nowadays, she and Pat McGee, the guy who killed her father, have an institution called Soldiers for Peace.
Wow.
She really fought against the feeling of revenge, and she was able to forgive him. It was a beautiful story, and I'm going to interview her for my channel one day.
Oh, great.
Awesome. Yeah, very nice. Let us know when you do
that.
Let us
know, yeah, Luis. When you interview her, let us know.
Yeah. Any other comment?
But there was once, I'm remembering a situation where in the States, a mother's 16-year-old son was killed by a drunk drive youngster. They'd been out and driving home. He had an accident with his car. And so he was put in prison. And she went to the she was at the trial, and then she visited him in prison. And she said, I forgive you. I know you did not intend to kill my son. And I know that you're very sorry. And I just want to tell you that, yes, I have lost my son, but and the boy said to her, take me as your son, which she did.
Wow.
And that was a beautiful story.
Hyacinth, you have quoted Gandhi. When Gandhi had somebody in the terrible fights between Muslims and Hindus, and he was in, oh, what's that terrible town in the east of India called? Anyway, he was in the east, in the town, and a Muslim who'd killed a Hindu parent arrived in front of him and said, how can I make atonement? And he said, take that child and raise him as your own. Take the child of the person you killed and raise him as your own. That was, of course, Gandhi, who was not like the rest of us. He was somebody smarter than the rest of us, let's say. But there's another thing that I've been meaning to say is we humans have a real trick, and that is when a holy man comes along, somebody who behaves nicely and preaches behaving nicely, what we do as soon as he's dead, we raise him up to a godlike status. And so we say, oh, well, that's a godlike person. We can't possibly be like him. And go about our daily lives in the usual crappy fashion. Oh, I'm looking at a wonderful sunset.
Okay.
Red everywhere, red sky at night, shepherd's delight.
All right, so anything else? So I'm gonna move on to 642. So is it enough to simply not to do what is evil in order to please God and to ensure our future happiness? Comments. Is it enough to simply not to do what is evil in order to please God and to ensure our future happiness? Josie.
I think, Anna,
Sorry.
we've been on this this subject for quite enough. So can we move on to 643? Because we know that thinking nasty stuff is not good. Words, saying nasty stuff is much worse, and doing nasty stuff is much worse still. So
Yeah, but
okay.
Let me tell you something very fast here, Giles. I know I tell that over and over again, but to me, it's the more important. It's like if you don't do your change, your inner change in your feelings and how you feel. And I talk about a lot of frequency, how we can, the quantical field, and your mind and your thoughts are in this quantical field. And I like to always say we need to change internally. We need to change our thoughts and we need to change our feelings. To me, it's the most important thing. Even outside you act in a different way, how you feel and how you think, to me, it's the main point of evolution, spiritual evolution. Yeah.
Great, Josie.
Susie McDougall is going to feed her animals, so she's gone. So I wonder if she's feeding the bad wolf or the good wolf.
No, she's got her sheep to take care of. No,
yes,
I think
of course.
You can't sit on the fence and simply because I don't go do evil, I'm pleasing God. You've got to do something. You've got to act. You can't just be nothing.
Yeah.
That's worth a point here. Since you have from an ancient Indian master who said you need 1 million years incarnated as a human to fill the human experience. And he also said, that is if you do nothing, if you just live your life. If, however, unlike the animals, as a human, you can improve yourself, you can think better thoughts, you can do You can say nicer things and you can do nicer deeds. Then you shorten it. And of course, how much is depending on how much you do. All right.
All right. Okay, so any other comment? So since you were the first one, Hyacinth.
Oh,
would you
no,
please read-
I shouldn't blow my hand. No, I've said
No,
what I
no,
want.
would you please, I was about to ask you to read the answer.
Oh, what's the answer? Oh, no, we must do good to the best of our abilities. Each of you will have to answer for all the evil that has resulted from the good that you failed to do.
Comments?
Oh, comment. No, thank you. My karma is in the pits if I have to believe that. And I'm doomed to the lower realms. Because of course there is good which I've failed to do, but there's also evil which I have failed to do. I've refused to do when I've had a good opportunity. No is the answer. So I don't like that. This is some kind of translation that we're looking at. This is not the real McCoy.
Yeah, that's our salvation, right? The good and bad. Imagine if you had to pay for every little bad thought and feeling and deed we do every day. At the end of the day, we'd be burned out, you know. And that's the concept of mercy we were talking about the other day, because everything is a little bit more, it's softer for us, because this kind of engine of life. Good.
Yeah, the way. Oh, sorry, Lydia, go ahead.
Yeah, I think again it's about consciousness that you have. I remember Schindler from the list of Schindler. I don't know if you know that, the Jewish guy that saved a lot of people from the World War II, and he said, I still have a bottom, and I could have saved someone with this gold bottom. And it is
jewelry, yeah.
consciousness, and he was thinking about that. I could have saved more people. He wasn't responsible for the war, but he had this kind of consciousness. And so, again, I think it's like that.
Yeah, I remember Chico Xavier saying that he had cried all night because he had done very little good the day before. Right?
No, think about
Remember
that.
that? Yeah, saying, so, why are you crying so much? You go, because yesterday I did so little good.
Annie and Gloria, you haven't said a word. Come on, let's hear something.
Yeah, oh, time's up too.
Okay,
Annie, not a word out of you. And Gloria, come on, let's have something.
Yeah,
mute myself. I was thinking about how in this country, in the United States that I'm in, how sad it is that a large portion of the people do not want their consciousness raised. They're fighting critical race theory. The whole history I was taught as a child was a lie. It was written by white men, and it completely left out the true story of slavery. And now we know how to do right. We know how to fix the bad. We could start with reparations, and they won't even discuss them. They won't.
Oh, you mute yourself, Gloria.
Pardon?
Okay, we are not hearing you.
Oh,
but you're back.
Gloria,
yeah.
That's wonderful. I've lived in 8 different countries, and I'm now living in the United States. And yes, bit by bit, I am realizing this. And it's a very short step from this statement onto politics, which we therefore must not talk about.
Well, I'm just talking about the in this country, denial of how the wealth was built in this country and who it should be shared with, and the fact that the majority of, not the majority of the people, so many people don't want to do the good thing. They don't want to do the right thing and make it right. They want to live in denial. And what happens is I'll have these hateful thoughts that will come into my mind about these evil people, and I've got to quickly shut those down. And it's exhausting in this political atmosphere to have to be monitoring my thoughts all the time to not.
Gloria, you don't live in Texas, where it would be everything is much worse. And don't worry, karma is there and will take care of all of these people in due course. And remember, there's only a small minority that are full of hate and distrust. Laughter and love wins out every time.
So does some truth in teaching history.
Well, okay, I was raised in Ireland and learned the truth about the English. They never taught you that. In England, they never teach the truth about that. But that's all over the place. So come on, let's just move on and trust in karma. We don't have to be the instrument of revenge. I know your thoughts say, yeah, I wish pianos could fall on them from a great height.
No, but it's one thing to say, yes, I do say leave them to karma because there's not much I can do. But the thing is that you do wish that they would wake up and be conscious of what is going, because they can see it all around.
Yeah.
Yes, the ancient Indian saying on that is, it is a matter of regret, ... It is a matter of regret that ... Whatever it is that you're unhappy about. Okay, Josephine.
And Gloria, just say one thing. Remember, the people who do bad things, they have bad energy around them. And when you think about them with hate and angry, you're fitting them, because that's the God energy that's compatible to them. So you make them stronger. So I know it's hard, but the best way you battle that is send them love and send them good feelings, because then those are the opposite and they can maybe help them to be a better person. I know it's hard. My therapists always say that to me, like, it's normal people feel angry. We are human beings, but try to think and try to just send the opposite energy in this case. But,
and remember, Gloria, that you are, searching for consciousness. You are here with that.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yes.
And you will be held more accountable than those people, because, will be required from us more understanding, of course, more energy,
tolerance.
But we are also being, look, Jesus Christ said that show your light to the world, right? Not proudly, but you need every time we conquer knowledge and wisdom, we have some kind of commitment to carefully, pedagogically put this out to other people, right?
Yeah. Also. Yeah. Speaking of that, so next Saturday, Luis and Livia will bring to us before we start reading the book again, Luis and Livia will be talking about the influence of the spirits and why not saying our inner thoughts, right? So I think it fits very well in the discussions that we are having right now. Right. So folks, we are
Annie, you never got a word out.
Oh shit. Just say hi, Annie, so he will be happy.
Giles, I am just taking it all in, and I'm not going to say anything because it would just bring up a whole other hour of chatting, and I know our time has run out, but excellent.
Are you going to a psychiatrist too?
Excellent discussions today, everyone. Excellent.
Thank you all. Yes. Oh, sorry. Hi, Cindy.
No, there's one thing. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing.
Exactly.
All right,
Hyacinth. It is right there.
All right, Hyacinth. Now you've forced me to admit it. I run with my wife a thrift store, and for 8 years we ran a food bank, giving food to the hungry, which of course in America is a surprise. And now it's a thrift store giving clothes to the unclothed and shoes. And this also involves looking after people whom the social services, which are woefully lacking in America, we look after them in certain degrees to every now and again, whenever we can. There, so doing good things.
Yes. Applause. Thank you, folks. And I'll see you next time. Good discussions today.
Thank
See
you.
Right.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
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 Hi,
See ya.
everybody.
Yeah.